If you've had a knee injury, you are likely trying to return to some kind of activity which is in a high knee position. If you don't know what I mean by a high knee position, this is where our knee is near extension, right? In the area between 0 and 45 degrees is mostly where we're going to be playing our sport. And so you might have likely trained things that are going to be similar to that activity, whether it be football, whether it be hiking, whether it be basketball, whether it be volleyball. We are not getting into deep knee bends in these sports. And so we may think the thing to do if we have pain, if we have injury, if we can't do that activity in that high knee position, is to develop that knee position in the same way. So we may be doing plyometrics, we may be doing sport-specific stuff that actually looks exactly the same as the activity. But something I want to talk about today, and something that changed my life forever, is actually the range below the sport, is actually the deep knee bends. And today this is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be laying out why we should be doing deep knee bends, and actually how we should be doing deep knee bends, how are we actually going to get to the point where we can do that and progress that over time. So obviously what we see in these activities is that they are in high knee positions. We are not really going to see anyone down in these low positions, maybe a goalkeeper here and there, but when we're actually playing, we're not going to see this. But if we're using this position in sport, the high knee bend, Charles Poliquin came up with a concept which is called structural balance, which means that we need to be in balance in different areas, not exactly the same strength, not exactly the same thing, but in proportion to each other, we need to be relatively balanced. So the knees need to have a certain strength, the ankles need to have a certain strength, the hips need to have a certain strength, we need to have a certain strength in the quads versus the hamstrings, we need to have a certain strength in high knee positions versus deep knee positions. Poliquin was also at the front of this idea of, if you do train a range that isn't in your sport, you are going to get gains in the range that is in your sport. And deep knee bends are so important for the knees. Anyway, this is one of the most important things for the knees that not a lot of people talk about and not a lot of people use. And it wasn't too long ago full squats were actually used. Before 1960s, where this study came out and said squatting knees over toes is bad, squatting to a full range of motion is bad for the knees, put pressure on the knees, people were squatting all day, every day. We had Arnold, we had Tom Platz, we have all of these people in the olden days. George Hackenschmidt was jumping over chairs in his 80s and using one of the most deep knee bends I've ever seen. So these have been around for decades, right? And this is our full range of motion in the knees. So in 1961, they came out with a study that said there's more pressure on your knees when you go over your toes. And they took that as a bad thing, and then people started squatting without their knees in front of their toes. And that then limited the range of motion as well. But recent research actually shows the opposite. It actually shows that deep squats aren't actually bad for the knees, but they actually prevent injuries and are a safe exercise as long as supervised by someone that knows what they're doing. And if we think about our knee health in general, we can look at an anecdote that I really like, which is talking about it in relation to a hinge, right? A door hinge, when it's rusty, what do we put on it? WD-40, we put on it oil, and that allows it to start moving again. The knees, what they need to be able to go from rusty, old, broken knees to be able to go to really good, lubricated, all that kind of stuff, is synovial fluid. Synovial fluid is the oil for the hinge, but for the knees. And how do we get that synovial fluids into the knees? Motion and compression. A quote by Dr. Baron Jam, a physical therapist and founder of the Advanced Physical Therapy Education Institution, said that every joint in our body has synovial fluid in it. This is the oil in our body that provides nutrition to the cartilage. Two things are required to provide that fluid: movement and compression. So if a joint doesn't go through its full range of motion, if the hips and knees never go past 90 degrees, the body says, I'm not being used, and starts to degenerate and stops the production of synovial fluid. And this is one of the best quotes that I've seen. If people knew this quote, there would be a lot more people deep squatting in the gym. So if you stopped midway, then you wouldn't be getting the synovial fluid to all of the connective tissue within the knee. Personally, my biggest issue was the meniscus, but I had cartilage damage, I had ACL, partial ACL tear, I had tendon damage, I had quad tendon damage, and all of this stuff does actually grow. It is anabolic. It has properties where it can get stronger, it can get thicker, all this kind of stuff. If we look at tendons need tension and compression in order to get thicker, to get stronger. And the way that we get that is through deep squats. There's been studies that show that tension comes on the tendons as soon as we start to load deep squats in a heavy way. And there's other ways to get tension on the tendons as well. But if we talk about the compression, the quad tendon and the patellar tendon, they both need the deep range of motions in order to be able to get that compression, which then makes them thicker and stronger over time. There's also been studies which show that athletes who perform deep knee bends have increased ACL and PCL thickness, and also moderate loading of the cartilage has been shown to increase thickness as well there. better. So the connective tissue within the knee, by doing deep squats at your current pain-free level and progressing that over time, having constant application of this over an extended period of time, is going to get the synovial fluid to the knee. It's going to be able to transform all the connective tissue in the knee. The other thing that it does is that when we're in a bottom range of motion of a squat, the VMO is activated to a higher degree than the other quad muscles. You can't isolate them so the VMO just works on its own, but it can be preferentially trained, and that's what the bottom range of motion does. And we see when the VMO gets stronger that the knee has less pain, because the VMO is the first muscle to contract when the knee is under pressure. So the stronger this is, the more protected the knee is going to be. So the idea that you can get from this is that we're going to have less pain, we're going to have bigger connective tissue, stronger connective tissue, we're going to have bigger VMOs, so our knees are going to be more protected by doing deep squats, by consistently progressing this over time. And the thing is, like, I'm not a medical expert. Like, I can't promise that a medical issue is going to be completely changed, completely resolved. What I do is I work on pain-free ability, and we see time and time again that this deep squat ability is needed in life. And the people who are able to build this deep squat capacity and actually take it to higher levels are more protected in their sport, experience less pain. If we think about, like, even like the very, very basics of life. To go to the toilet, to sit down and go for a poo, you need to be able to squat onto the seat. Now that's just a half range of motion. But if we can squat to a full range of motion, how much easier is half squatting to a toilet going to be? And we see that as we age, these functions are going to become so much harder. So if the people continue to maintain their squats and be able to use these deep squats over the years, and just build this ability at their own pain-free level, a long period of time, their life is going to be so much easier. It's going to be so much better. Imagine picking up your grandkids out of a deep squat. If you look at cultures in Asia, Japan, China, these kind of stuff, they sit in deep squats all day. They have less knee surgery rates, they have less knee replacement rates, and it's because they are using their full range of motion, which has been given to us by God. If God didn't want us to use a full range of motion, he wouldn't have given us one. So now when we're training for a full range of motion, this is using our body in the way God designed. And the thing is, like, you don't just start shoving your knee into a full range of motion now, deep knee bends, all that kind of stuff, if you have pain there, if you have knee issues, because you need to progress your way there, right? You need to find your level of ability. If you haven't deep squatted in a long time, there may be a lack of ability. We may need to regain this range. So the way that we can do this is, in the deep squat itself, we can regress. So that we can regress by range is one to start with. So we can start with a half squat. That's fine. Like, I'm not saying that's bad, but you can progress. If you can't go to a deep squat, then just half squatting isn't going to be great, because there's going to be some disability there in terms of we can't go to the full range of motion. But you can limit the range of motion to start with, and then just work to get a little bit more range of motion. Maybe 1% next week. Maybe not 1% more next week. And we just get to that point where we eventually can. You can regress with floss bands. So putting floss bands on the knee helps compress the knee. And sometimes we see that this increases the mobility and allows us to get into a deep squat, right? It just tells our body, okay, this is actually a little bit safer. Another way is being able to assist ourselves, right? Maybe holding two chairs next to us, or taking our weight off with something, like in the squat rack, they have those things to stop the bar going down, putting our hands on that and being able to regress there. We can use something like counterbalance. By holding a weight out in front of us, that's going to counterbalance. We can see people get into a deep squat way easier. So these are all regressions for the knee. We can even go into a pool. I've been playing around recently, like we have a sauna in the gym and there's a pool bit. Like, I was just thinking, like, okay, this is taking weight off my body. So if people are really struggling, maybe they're a bit heavier, or their knee just can't take the pressure, maybe we get them in a pool to start with. Maybe we go to the sauna and we start doing a little bit of the deep knee bends. Okay, cool. We can take off some body weight. We can go into the deeper knee bends a little bit more. Amazing. Maybe it's using something like an ATG split squat, which we can work one leg at a time, and we can actually elevate this, use assistance, be more stable, and work one leg at a time. So if one leg is worse, we can maybe add an extra set on that leg and progress that over time as well. And then the progressions, right? We don't just want to, depends on your goals. Like a body weight deep squat could be enough to go out hiking. It could be enough for some people if your goals are to play with your kids pain-free, it's just to walk about pain-free, right? But like, my goals are being able to play football without any knee issues. So I'm going to have to get to higher standards than someone that just wants to, I don't know, maybe walk around without pain day to day. And that was one of my first goals. So that's not a bad goal in itself, but you start to unlock stuff. You start to go, okay, I've gotten to this point where I can now start to walk around pain-free. I couldn't walk around pain-free for 5 years, right? I didn't get into a deep squat for 5 years. Like, that is how it is for a lot of people. Like I had a knee surgery, and after my knee surgery, we didn't train the deep squat, and so I didn't use it. And then I was scared of it for the next 5 years. I didn't know how to build that until I found Ben Patrick, my mentor. And then I was able to rebuild it. And now I love deep squats, right? I can squat 1.5 times plus my body weight, right? There's elite standards. So the progressions beyond just body weight are then being able to go from counterbalance into a dumbbell on front and then into a barbell on front, and then starting to load there in a front squat. And I think that's going to be a game changer when we're talking about the knees. The front squat, I think, is the number one game changer for long-term knee health, is to build it up, just slowly. Spend 5 years building your front squat consistently at your pain-free level over time. It's going to be a game changer for your knees, for your quads. It's going to be amazing. There's also progressions in terms of how far your knee's in front of you. The more you elevate the heels, the further the knee goes forward, the more vertical the shin angle is with the ground, and the more pressure on the knee, right? So we can even work to something like a hack squat for some people, right? And these are our elite standards for the knees, but the principle of this video is being able to take your current ability with a deep squat, whatever it is, whether you can do one, whether you can't do one, and slowly progress that over time. Amazing. That's going to be an absolute game changer for your knees. And I hope this video helps you to be able to not only have the awareness that this is actually the case and start training this, but actually have a bit of a plan to go in the gym and start being able to make those steps towards getting better at the squat. And maybe we see some results in less knee pain, being able to handle more demands of life that we're able to, because our knee ability has gone up. So I hope it helps. If you do have any questions, please drop them in the comment section down below, but let's get squatting.